Kirk in Iowa. Kirk, what can we do for you?
Hey, how you doing? This is my first time calling any kind of call show, so it's kind of nice to be able to pop my cherry, as it were.
Well, no worries. We'll be gentle. What can we do for you?
Excellent. So I was watching the Sunday shows, and I forget exactly which one it was, but you had a non-binary person, and they were talking about the non-binary offspring of their sister.
Mm-hmm.
And they use the term nibbling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I also have a non-binary offspring of a sister-in-law. And when we found out, they came out in Thanksgiving. And when we found out about that, the very first thing I thought is like, okay, niece and nephew are very binary terms. And I didn't know what a non-binary term would be. And so, like I said, I did my own research, and unfortunately, one of my research areas went to Tumblr.
I don't know. There was for a long time a really, really great community for a lot of folks on Tumblr. It has certainly shifted and changed in a post-Fosta Sesta world. But I wouldn't necessarily knock it. But tell us what you found.
Well, so obviously, Google says the very first result is nibbling. It's a term that was coined somewhere in the 50s. It's supposed to be a combination of non-binary sibling, I believe is what it was.
I mean, I don't know the etymology. I always just kind of figured it was like sibling, but for your niece and nephew. But I hear it.
Yeah, and then that's kind of what I saw as well. But obviously with that one, other options in that Tumblr post, I personally liked Nafis, which was, I thought, a combination of nephew and niece.
Yeah, the portmanteau.
And it yeah. And I also thought it sounded a little less, shall we say, predatory than nibbling, especially when you're talking about somebody who, in this case, they are 14 years old, and I'm just like, I want to use that.
Yeah, I mean, if the particular term makes you uncomfortable, that's okay. That's all right. I'm sure that you can navigate or negotiate that in particular, and it's probably worth speaking to your sister-in-law's child, whatever term we're applying here, to see what they enjoy or what they would be comfortable with. But I would just say broadly within the wide culture, we can talk about whether the word aunt or aunt or however we want to say it is, makes one particular person uncomfortable or whatever else. But we also more or less have culturally agreed that that's the term that we utilize. And I'm not saying that nibbling is written in stone by any means. I mean, all of this culture feels really fluid and changing. But it does seem to be the one that we've more or less grappled onto. Puck, do you disagree at all?
No, and this is great because now I get to say something that I've always wanted to say, which is I am still learning when it comes to a whole bunch of this stuff. And I studied French through a lot of middle school and high school. And of course, in French and other languages, every word has a gender attached to it. It's le or la. Now that says nothing at all about whether it's a masculine or feminine noun. It's just the way to describe it. And in contrast to that, you think of English as, oh, it's English. There's no gendered words in English. Yes, there are. And
yeah.
There's a surprising amount of them, and I don't spend nearly as much time thinking about it because it doesn't affect me nearly as much as it does affect other people. Non-binary people, for example, are highly affected by this, and they're going to spend a lot more time thinking about this than I do. And I'm going to, out of kindness, just defer to whatever they say best resonates with them. And if they say, I like the term nibbling to describe this relationship, by gum, that is my nibbling. I don't have to understand it. I have to, even if I don't get it, the time to try to understand it is not when I am face to face with my nibbling and I say, you know what, I don't think I agree with what you're saying. Let's hash this out right now over Thanksgiving dinner. No, it's incumbent upon me to do that research to try to figure it out. And until then, to be as kind as possible to a person who probably had a great amount of difficulty in coming up with not just figuring out that aspect of themselves, but then feeling comfortable coming up to Uncle Puck and saying, I would like you to refer to me as your nibbling. The least I can do is be kind to them.
Sure.
So it's interesting that you went to French, and I actually do study a little bit of languages myself. And you're absolutely right as far as there's specifically male, specifically female, lay and la. In German, they also have the same thing, but they also have a third option. So you got der for masculine, die for feminine, and das for gender neutral. And I don't personally have a problem with nibbling. Yes, it does sound predatory. But what I mean by that is from outside. So if I am speaking with somebody and saying, hey, my nibbling is about to graduate high school and we're all excited for them and, It's kind of one of those things where, because even as I started out explaining, and I did that kind of intentionally because it is something that is hard to fully explain.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, they are the offspring of my da-da-da-da, and it's
I mean, I think I can cut in here and say that it's perhaps hard to explain because we don't have a lot of language for it and we don't have a lot of experience with it. I don't know that the concept itself, I have a sister, my sister has a child, that child is a boy, that child is a girl, that child is an NB. I don't know that it's any more complicated unless I just use the word NB as a noun right there and you were suddenly confused by that. If we get comfortable using words like NB, if we get comfortable using words like nibbling or whatever else, I do think that these things will start to fade away because I don't know that they are any more inherently challenging. But it does fall on us as the members of this culture coming in this specific moment, this particular day and age, to take up the fact that we've gotten really far behind on this. We have not done a good job of making space for our non-binary family members. And so we have a responsibility now at this particular moment in history to start to really address that. And yeah, it might be a little bit awkward. It might be a little bit challenging as we play around with words and figure out how to do that. But I think that you've got a good notion of the task ahead of you.
Yeah. And now you can be a fantastic ally here because now you can go to someone who your nibbling has never been in front of, and you use that term in front of like maybe a coworker or a neighbor or something. And you say, yeah, my nibbling just graduated from high school. And they say, what does that mean? Then you can say what it means. And that person, that's one less person that person has to defend themselves to. And you are now taking up that banner. And they say, well, wait, I don't understand. Then you can say, you know what? I don't fully understand it either, but this is what they prefer to be called. And this is what I'm going to call them. And the least we can do is offer that kindness. Now you just became an ally, even though you didn't have a full understanding.
Oh, I definitely want to be an ally. Both aunt and uncle over here want to be an ally, and it is great that their parents are also definitely being allies. Kind of wish their grandparents were, but that's a different story. But they still have allies, even though they're in an area where it is very much frowned upon, where it's definitely not open. And, I'm definitely going to try to be the cool uncle for them and make sure that, they always know there's an ally.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah, glad to hear it. I appreciate you kind of taking on that challenge and for giving us a call and sharing this with us.
Yeah, sorry it was a little off topic, but like I said, I heard it on the other shows, and I just kind of I had it fresh on my mind.
Yeah, no, not at all. Secular sexuality is about making the world more comfortable for people, regardless of their sexual interests, regardless of their gender dynamics. This is what we are here to do. So I appreciate you joining that mission, and hope you have a great night.
All right, thank you.